I don't know what's going on, man. Yeah, we talked about Black Rob, we talked about late great DMX. Now Shock G, man, from Digital Underground has passed away. I believe at the age of 57, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
And I didn't see, never see this stuff coming, man. But when I saw that, I just was like, I'm getting to the point now where I'm starting to feel like, you know, a lot of our childhood and teen years, like you seeing some of these people that, you know, you have memories attached to, like Digital Underground and, you know, Pac and Same Song, and then, you know, Black Rob. I told me and Lone talked about the album. We copped that album. We were together when we first heard that album. We exchanged CDs. I'm saying, in DMX and all that type of stuff. It's just crazy, man, because a lot of these people are attached to certain eras in our lives, and as we get older, it's just crazy to see them pass away. And with Shock, you know, one of the things that I've noticed about Shock, that's been shared since he's passed, is all of these videos of him sitting down at the piano playing "I Get Around." I'm saying, or just playing joints that he produced. I was talking with my dude Nate Jeezy, he's in the chat now, about how certain people sleep on his production, like his production discography, some of the things that he produced that was fire. You know what I'm saying? And Digital Underground was groundbreaking, man. They'll always be attached to Pac, and you know, he bodied Same Song. I remember that when they were carrying him on the joint, man. I think it was like a tribal type thing or whatever. Rest in peace to Shock, man. That's definitely that's tough, man. That's three in a row. You know what I'm saying, from a hip hop standpoint. But Shock is, I just always have looked at him as one of those iconic dudes from the character, obviously with him playing Humpty, but just Digital Underground and how Outbreak, like how they just changed it, man. They were just different. You know what I'm saying? Almost like a Parliament vibe with the show and the background dancers and all that, man. Pop was a roadie, like
a Parliament vibe.
Yeah, they had a Parliament vibe like a mug. So rest in peace to Shock, man. That's definitely that's a loss in hip hop, man, for sure. Jay Diff, you can jump in, man. Any thoughts about Shock?
Yeah, man. Shock was a musician first and foremost. You know what I'm saying? And he introduced the world to Tupac Shakur. I mean, those that don't know that's damn near a shame that you don't know that that's how you were introduced to Tupac.
Talk to him.
There's no telling how Tupac would have made it without Shock G. And Shock G took him under his wing and made sure he was able to fly. But I mean, not to take anything away from DMX, but personally, Shock G kind of hit me a little different that the DMX, because I was heavy into music back then. So watching you on TV raps and seeing Digital Underground being interviewed by Fab Five Freddy, and you know, just seeing how they move, that if the Humpty Dance is the only thing you know from Digital Underground, you did yourself a huge disservice, because they dropped some of the dopest shit of the early 90s and they were ahead of their time. You know what I'm saying? As far as that same wavelength as Parliament Funkadelic, Shock G was headlining all that shit. It's a lot of people that don't even know that Shock G produced So Many Tears for Tupac as well.
Talk to him.
And arguably one of Tupac's best album, in my personal opinion. Yeah, Shock G was a musician, and I hate that he lost it. I don't even know the story behind how he passed, or like, was he sick or anything? Does anybody know?
Nobody heard. They found him in a hospital. Don't nobody, I mean, not a hospital, a hotel. I'm sorry. Don't nobody really know what was popping, but I think he was found in a hotel room, if I'm not mistaken.
It's crazy, but yeah, definitely shouts out to Shock G and his family. This is one of those times definitely where folks should get their flowers while they're still here, while they can still smell them, because he definitely didn't get his just due, just based off of the influence that he had on the hip hop game.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there 100%, man. Jay Moore, jump in, man. Just thoughts about Shock overall.
Well, you know, I think Jay Diff alluded to it. If the only thing that you know about Digital Underground or Shock G is the Humpty Dance, I mean, okay, then we can't really have certain conversations about hip hop. I know if it may have preceded you, and that's fine. But you know, what the things that came from the Shock G tree, if you will, because at that point, yes, there was West Coast music, but basically you either came from the Ice-T tree you know, with Rhyme Syndicate, or you came from the NWA tree. And, you know, Digital Underground was its own thing. You know, and the thing is, guys from Oakland, like Oakland gave you Hammer, Too Short, E40, and Digital Underground. Like, think about the diversity of sound that came out of Oakland at that time. And it was all at the same time, 89, 90. I remember seeing the Do What You Like video. You know, I had these times because, you know, like I was just at one point I could tell you like every video that was on. That's what I did. When I came home, I would flip back and forth between Yo MTV Raps and Rap City, because every once in a while there might be a video that didn't get played on MTV that got played on Rap City. It was very few, but it was mostly overlap, but there were a few that were different. But when Do What You Like came on, just the sound of that record was like, okay, because it wasn't gangster. And because when that was really starting to take off, but it certainly didn't sound like anything from New York either. Like, it was, when you listen to that, there's so like, it's what hip hop I feel like is supposed to be. It's supposed, like, at the end of the day, we supposed to be having fun with this.
They were the embodiment of that. Facts.
You know, but at the same time, the musicality of it, you know, with the bass lines, and then when I encourage anybody, go back and listen to Do What You Like, and you hear when he does the Piano Man part. Like, that's one of my favorite breakdowns ever in hip hop. You know, but then they come back with Sons of the P, you know, that has No Nose Job on it, which, you know, considering the crazy
young dude rapping, or whatever happened to that
dude.
Good
question.
The kid that was rapping on that?
I have no idea. But, you know,
you got me on that.
All the, you know, considering, you know, all the you know, people doing stuff to their face and getting fix-a-flat in the ass, like, you know, No Nose Job is is something that should be played on the radio on a regular now. Only it probably would never do that because it would hurt too many people's feelings, you know.
Considering shame.
But then you had a song like Kiss You Back, like right in the middle of all this gangster shit. You have probably one of the most feel-good rap records ever.
You know, big record, man. That was a big record.
You know, so from that, of course, you get Pac. You know, there was a lesser known group called Raw Fusion, which was Money B and Fuse. You know, I mean, it really is a loss. You know, of course, being somebody that's still like, that's my era, so I still would listen to those records from time to time. But, you know, it's sad, man. Like I said, with, you know, Black Rob, DMX, you know, Prince Marky D. You know, we've been.
I ain't even mention him.
We've been losing them this year. You know, and you know, shout, you know, just, you know, so this is a real loss to hip hop. I hope people go back and discover Shock G and Digital Underground, because they were really a groundbreaking group that, you know, because there were so many groundbreaking groups at the time and so many artists, they really, even with the Humpty Dance and everybody knowing that record, sometimes a record can be bigger than the group. And it shouldn't be that way because the group had so many other things to offer.
Right.
But I hope a lot of people go back and discover, you know, Digital Underground, Shock G, and everything that he did, because it really is a loss.
Yeah.
So to your point about Oakland, don't forget about Hieroglyphics and Souls of Mischief. All of them was from Oakland as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Were heavily influenced by Digital Underground. You know what I'm saying? So
I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
And all these groups were different. You could tell they had an influence, but they were all different. That's what was so great about hip hop from that era.
I agree with you 100%. You definitely made a good point, especially about the Bay. Like, that's, you named icon. Everything you named was iconic just from that area. So I've always been a West Coast person and had a damn near West Coast bias. I should have been born out there with some of my favorite producers being Quick and Battle Cat and all these types of dudes. But no, man, you right on the money with that, especially from a regional standpoint. Was your Digital Underground game low, or were you kind of in there a little bit? I'm not trying to clown. I'm just talking about just in general, because I know your history.
Yeah, I mean, I knew a little bit of Digital Underground. I knew more Hieroglyphics than Digital Underground. You know, obviously, my first introduction to Tupac was All Eyes on Me. So, you know, I've seen a lot of arguments coming out. It may even be from some of you guys. Like, if you don't know Shock G, then you can't appreciate Tupac or something. I'm like, my first introduction to Tupac was after, you know, all that stuff. You know, so I mean, obviously it's
It's a
I think
majority though. Don't feel bad. It's a majority of people that were introduced to Tupac that actually don't know anything about them. But
I don't feel bad at all. I mean, I'm just saying, like, I don't think it's relative. Like, I think it's important to study the history in that aspect, but like, you can know and appreciate Tupac without knowing Shock G. I just think, you don't know, like, probably the deep roots of where he came from, then obviously you don't know the deep roots. Like, I'm not a Tupac historian, you know what I mean? Like, and I don't claim to be. So,
But the thing about what you're doing to separate yourself from what we're talking about is you're acknowledging when you heard him, because there are a lot of people that claim, oh man, I'm a Tupac historian. Oh man, I know everything about Tupac, but don't know who Shock G is. I think those are the people
that say,
and I know
Shock
Shock G. Don't get
day one. And
that's what I'm talking about. Go ahead, Lone. I'm sorry, but that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, and I know Shock G. You know, I think probably the first thing, I think the first song I heard from him was probably the Humpty Dance. I mean, that was a big joint, right? But I think,
that was a crossover joint.
But it was also he did one song with Murs, and I forget what it was called.
He did.
And
I remember
I
there
was a
video
big
for it. I remember back
there
in the
is, and I was a big Murs fan. I was a big Murs fan because my evolution was like, once I found out, it was like the early 2000s when, you know, I really started digging deep, and, you know, one artist led to another artist, and that's just how it works when you're in that phase in life and you're just finding music. You know, one artist opens you up to somebody else and you're like, oh shit, you know. And I remember I was a Little Brother fan, and I found out the Ninth Wonder work with Murs, and then I found out about the Living Legends, and then I found out about more of the Oakland-based, LA-based, San Diego-based hip hop acts. And when I got into Murs is when I was reintroduced to some other stuff that Shock G had done, because it took me down one of his rabbit holes. But I'm not overly, to be honest, I'm not even really all that thoroughly knowledgeable on Digital Underground or Shock's music. So it's cool to hear you guys talk about it. It's cool to hear you guys, you know, tell the stories, because it's so easy to it's like any facet of life and any facet of information in general. You know, we can be experts in our small little box, but then there's this one little box over here that we just didn't take time to dive down yet. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then, you know, eventually, you know, you probably will, and I probably will as well, you know, in that realm, and then learn a whole bunch of more stuff about something that, you know.
I think if you looked at, if you search on Twitter or any hashtags about Shock, I think you'd really appreciate clips of him sitting down at the piano and really seeing some of the stuff that he played, and then going back to be like, oh, I didn't even realize he did that, or I didn't even realize he played that. Like piano run on a Get Around, like he was sitting at the piano playing that. It's chromatic as it goes down. Like, it's dope to actually see him just, you know, jamming out like that. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I'm sure I would. Yeah, you know, it's just you know, finding the time in the day to decide to go down that path of history versus another one. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I don't think you're one of the guilty parties assumed when the conversation comes up, though. It's more of the people that are so headstrong on being this uber super Tupac fan that's been down since day one. Don't have a clue who Shock G is, because if you were down since day one, you would have known,
right?
You would have followed and you would have studied. You know what I'm saying? It kind of
for sure. I get
territory.
it. Yeah, I get it. You know,
you don't fit in that.
I don't think somebody has to necessarily know about an artist if they're not so gung ho about being the number one fan of that artist. Just to make that clear.
It's just, but they do exist. Go ahead, Lon. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, and too, you know, like, I think in general, as people that influence music, is, you know, we have that ability, you know, with the show and everything we do. Like, you know, I like to be a little bit more careful, me personally, and this is because, you know, changed throughout time. You know, like, I don't want to be that guy that's like, oh man, you never heard about Jay Dilla? Man, you don't know anything about beats. You know what I mean? Like, I don't ever want to be that person that's going to like stir and push somebody away from like actually checking it out too. Not that I'm saying that's what you guys are doing, but, or whoever else is doing that. But I'd never want to be that, because I feel like that in the long run actually hurts the people
Yes.
that people might actually want to check out. So
Yeah, I mean,
everybody
it's-
has their own phase of discovery, and the discovery comes when that person decides to take that plunge. So I understand what you're saying.
if you through conversation, if you take that situation that you're talking about, because nobody wants to be that person, and even if it's just a playful slap on the wrist to be like, fam, how could you not know? But here's why you should know, and take a look at this and go listen to this album when you get a chance. Like, it's still a positive resolution there. Like, it doesn't have to be all negative. You know what I mean? Like, you can still be like, all right, man, I see that you didn't get it, but go listen to Sex Packets and then get back with me. Let me know what you think. Like, that type of stuff.
right.
I mean,
sure.
those conversations can happen for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. Nah, man.
I mean, like,
salute the
I
shot,
feel
man.
like it's like I feel like I spent the last decade sharing other people's music and trying to put them on. So like, it's
Talk to him.
okay. I mean, I guess I don't know.
Heard a lot. Heard a lot of. Lone is the only person. I say this probably every 40 episodes, but Lone is the only person that can put me on to a rapper that's a producer, singer, and songwriter from like Slovenia or something like that, and it actually be heat. So he's heard a lot of music that I would have never even remotely been in
I
the
feel like,
rooms or in the areas or anything.
I feel like a
It's
lot of
always
us
dope
can,
when he
though.
sends it to me.
And I feel like there's a lot of people in the chat that could probably do that as well. I definitely know Nicole can. Definitely know Nate can too.
You might,
And-
you might. Oh, most definitely, most definitely. I'm with you there. They both legit. Arguments there. I'm with Terry earlier. I'm being positive today. I'm not a hater. They definitely are. They are both well versed in hip hop. That is a fact.
It's in rare form today.
Yes. I'm being positive, man. Nate and Nicole. We appreciate y'all, man. I hope y'all have a blessed day, and I hope the sun shines tomorrow and everything is good for you all. I'm saying.
All
All
right.
right, so shout out to 𝗏𝗔𝗗𝐲, man. Rest in peace and condolences to him and to his family and prayers to his family, man. Definitely hip hop icon. He's going to be missed.
If you've enjoyed this segment of the New Old Heads podcast, make sure to join our live show every Tuesday from 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/newoldheads. And we invite you to join our hip hop community on Discord. Access it by going to newoldheads.com/community for talks on hip hop, sports, music, news, and everything else.